In a village where the rivers hummed with time, and the mountains wore their shadows like a cloak, there lived a girl who danced with gears and rhyme, her hands a map of stories yet unspoke. Her father was the keeper of the clocks, a man who bent the hours to his will. He built the town its heartbeat, tick and talk, and taught her how the seconds could stand still. She learned to mend the broken, fix the frayed, to breathe new life into the worn and old. But while her hands were busy, her mind strayed to dreams of worlds beyond her father's hold. For in her chest, a restless clock would chime, a melody that only she could hear. It whispered of a life outside of time, of love and loss, of joy and fleeting fear. One day, a stranger came with eyes of green, a traveler whose past was cloaked in mist. He carried with him stories he had seen, of lands where time itself could not exist. He spoke of oceans made of liquid glass, of forests where the trees could sing and weep. He told her of a love that came to pass, and one that lingered in the halls of sleep. The girl, enchanted by his tales of yore, felt something stir within her fragile frame. She longed to see the world beyond her door, to chase the echoes of her hidden name. But as she packed her bags and said goodbye, her father placed a clock within her hand. "This is your heart," he said with a sigh, "it beats for you, no matter where you land." And so she left, the clock tucked in her chest, its rhythm steady as she walked the miles. Through valleys deep and mountains snowy crest, she carried with her all her father's smiles. The world was vast, a canvas yet unpainted, and every step revealed a brand new hue. She met the lost, the lonely, the acquainted, and learned that every heart has secrets too. In cities made of steel and endless light, she found a man who sold his dreams for gold. His eyes were hollow, drained of all their might, and in his hands, a story left untold. She sat with him beneath a neon sky, and listened as he spoke of what he'd lost. The clock within her chest let out a cry, as if it knew the weight of every cost. "I once had love," he said, his voice a thread, "but time, it slipped like sand between my hands. I chased the future, left the past for dead, and now I'm here, a ghost of what I planned." The girl reached out and placed her hand on his, and felt the ache that lingered in his bones. She whispered, "Time is not the thief of bliss, it's just the stage where we are not alone." He looked at her, his eyes a storm of pain, and for a moment, something shifted there. The clock within her chest began to strain, as if it knew the weight of his despair. But then he smiled, a fragile, broken thing, and thanked her for the light she'd briefly shown. She left him there, her heart a humming string, and wondered if she'd ever find her own. Through deserts vast and oceans wide she roamed, each step a note within her endless song. She met the young, the old, the yet unformed, and learned that every heart could do no wrong. In forests deep, she found a woman old, her hands were maps of every path she'd trod. Her eyes were bright, her spirit fierce and bold, and in her lap, she cradled every god. "What brings you here?" the woman asked with grace, her voice a melody of ancient lore. The girl replied, "I'm searching for a place, where time and love and loss are something more." The woman laughed, a sound like rustling leaves, and said, "My child, you've found it in your chest. The clock you carry, though it grieves and grieves, is proof that you have lived and loved your best." The girl looked down and felt the steady beat, a rhythm born of every step she'd taken. She realized then, her journey was complete, for in her heart, her world had been awakened. She turned back home, her steps a little lighter, the clock within her chest a steady guide. She knew now that her heart was not a fighter, but rather, it was something to confide. When she returned, her father stood and smiled, his hands still busy with the gears of time. He saw the change within his once wild child, and knew her heart had found its perfect rhyme. "Welcome home," he said, his voice a song, and wrapped her in a hug that spoke of years. The girl felt whole, her heart where it belonged, and knew her journey's end was just the start of tears. For life, she learned, is not a straight-lined path, but rather, it's a spiral, round and round. We lose, we love, we laugh, we face the wrath, and in the end, we find where we are bound. The clock within her chest still ticks away, a reminder of the time she's yet to spend. But now she knows that every single day is just a gift, a means to no true end. And so she lives, her heart a steady drum, her hands still mending what the world has broke. She knows that time is not a place to come, but rather, it's the thread of which we're wove. So if you find yourself lost in the fray, remember that your heart is just a clock. It ticks and talks, it guides you on your way, and every beat is just another block. For time is not the enemy we fear, but rather, it's the stage where we all play. So live your life, and hold your loved ones near, and know that every second's here to stay.